everybody. My name is Scott. I'll be your MC for the first part of the evening, and I want to say welcome to you all. And of course, as the sign says, love for all, hatred for none. It is so good to see you this evening as we bring two special groups together in celebration of not just the groups, but also the whole community in general. So first of all, I want to introduce the head table guests. And this is in no particular order, by the way. I'm just going to start at the top. Now at the end, Mr. Andy Barker is with us. I was about to say hold your applause, but I was a little late to the charge on that one. I would also like to call upon, and please rise, a very, very special guest this evening. Mr. Malik is with us. Next to him, of course, Chief Brandon Mitchell, also with us. Thank you, Brandon. We also have the MHA for exploits, Mr. Jerry Dean and Beverly Dean, his wife. All the way from Nova Scotia, we have Imam Nadim. Representing Grand Falls, Windsor, Mr. Mike Brown. And in a way, I'm saving the best for last. Because he's so modest, but yet so nice. Is he not one of the nicest men you've ever met in your life? Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Boudin. All right, so we have a wonderful evening ahead of us. If I could just, first of all, I want to call upon, now for the Quranic recitation, I'd like to call on Imam Nadine, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Thank you very much, Imam. Now, as a treat, we're going to provide a translation for what you just heard, so I'd like to call on our good friend Rijwan. Where is he? Where's Rijwan? Ah, here he comes. Do you know, he used to be my bodyguard when I first met him.
How are you, my friend?
Good, my friend. And you're still my bodyguard, right?
Of course.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Peace be with you all. Which one? I'm now going to give the English translation for chapter 1 from the Holy Quran, verses 1 to 7. In the name of God, the most gracious and the ever merciful. All praise belongs to God, Lord of all of the worlds, the most gracious and the ever merciful, Master of the day of judgment. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we implore for help. Guide us in the right path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your blessings, those who have not incurred displeasure, and those who have not gone astray. Amen.
Dr. Boudin asked me to pass along in tradition and custom, according to Islamic traditions, men shake hands with men and women with women. We will respect that tonight. Thank you, Dr. Boudin. Now, I would like to call upon a very special guest. I've gotten to know this group quite well over the past little while. We were in Millertown a short time ago, and we had a wonderful ceremony there to celebrate and honor the Beothic, and here we are again today. I'd like to call on the Exploits drummers and a cavalcade as well as they sing to us, O Canada.
O Canada, que much kinu Kiuma Miguel Belki Anqueule Gizumuli Angoj Gemuch Ginu O Canada Milky Gone Lule O Canada Milky Gone Lule Tahoe.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we unleash a rash of politicians your way, just to come up here and speak, I just want to say this weekend, or actually, I believe I see, is that Susan? I want to say recognize Susan Sullivan. I think she is here, the Honorable Susan Sullivan. Is that her? Did I see her? There she is. Good to see you, Susan. Right now, this weekend, actually, is the municipality's Newfoundland and Labrador Convention, so you don't see a lot of councillors here for that reason, including our mayor. However, to bring greetings on behalf of the town of Grand Falls, Windsor, here's Mike Brown, your newly elected deputy mayor.
Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for the invitation to this great occasion. Thank you, Dr. Boodham. I'll bring regrets on behalf of our mayor, who is in Corner Brook, as Scott had just mentioned, for the municipality's Newfoundland and Labrador Convention tonight. In Grand Falls, Windsor, we are a community of equal opportunity, and the welcome mat is always open to those who wish to make our community their home. We are a community of inclusion, and we recognize the celebrations of one's beliefs and practices are very important to our town and will continue to be. Thanks again for the invitation, and have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Now I call upon the MHA for exploits on behalf of the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, Mr. Jerry Dean.
MC and MP Sims, Deputy Mayor Brown, Emma Nadine Khan, Andy Barker, Dr. Boodham, President Lal Khan Malik, and Chief Brendan Mitchell. Friends all, pleasure to be here with my wife Beverly tonight on this Building Bridges gathering, and I wouldn't have you to know, but our Creator would have you to know that that it's His wish, the Creator's wish, that as opposed to burning bridges, we build them. So, and not to take credit as a government, because I believe it's Newfoundlanders and Labradorians first, as well as Canadians, not party colors. But I think our country can certainly be proud in being testament to leaders in being just that, compared to too many other nations throughout the world. So I think everyone here tonight should take great pride in that and satisfaction. And it's because of Canadians, not because of political parties or anything else. So I just wanted to get that out there. Premier Ball wants to pass along as well, pretty well the same thoughts and wishes for everyone here tonight to have a really great evening and safe travels in all of your future endeavors. Minister Hawkins, unfortunately, can't be with us. He's, as Scott alluded to earlier, he's at the MNL carrying on government business. And I want Dr. Boodham, for you to know that I've always, I think this may be my second or third time in different capacities, the previous one being mayor of Botwood, in being able to come into this type of a gathering, and really look forward to it. And quite an honor to be here to be able to bring greetings on behalf of the Minister, the Premier, and the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador. And as the MP said earlier, love for all, hatred for none. All can love your neighbors. Thanks for having us.
I'd just like to quickly add to that as well, as we create a friendship bridge here tonight. Friendship bridges are something that's not stranger to us as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, as we've done it throughout the ages, as we are the oldest colony in North America, and also the friendliest one as well. Let's be biased about this. I guess maybe living on an island, we build bridges a lot, or at least we try to in a figurative sense, but here we are today building yet another bridge. one that will last forever in front of our Creator. So on behalf of the Government of Canada, as well as the Governor General of Canada, I say congratulations to you on this wonderful evening and Friendship Bridge. Now, that being said, I want to call on Dr. Bouden to do a recognition of our guests, please.
I would like to say thank you to each and everyone who took time up this evening to participate in our event. So Scott may have done that, so there may be some repetition here. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Chief Brendan Mitchell, who traveled all the way from Corner Brook today to come here, and Vice Chief Joe Busan, who is from town, and of course the National President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, Mr. Lal Khan Malik, who is his second visit to the town of Grand Falls, Windsor. So I know we are, celebrating 150 years of Canada, and incidentally, we are, I think, 150 guests over here. So that's just a coincidence, but I think it's a beautiful one. Of course, I don't think you know everybody, so I'd like just to recognize and present some of my guests. The truth is that the major contributor to all the guests is Andy Barker. So we agreed that he will call all on the people, but I will take the credit. So thank you. So I just want to recognize some of you. I can do for everybody, but I just have it listed randomly. If you could just stand up so that some people may know who you are, and Mr. Barker can do the same afterwards. We have Mr. Qureshi with us. Mr. Qureshi is traveling with Mr. Malik. He is the president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Halifax, New Brunswick, and PEI. And along with them also is Imam Nadim Khan, who is new to the province. He just started here last week. Of course, as I say, it's randomly put on my paper here. Mr. Andrew Barker, he tells me to call him Andy. So Andy, please, he's the ward councillor for exploits. And so I have here Mr. Scott Sims. No introduction needed. Jerry Dean and Mayor Brown. So I want to recognize all my colleagues who came from the hospital, and all those who are from Central Health. You are most welcome here. Thank you, all of you, for coming. All friends and neighbors. And it has already been said, I'll repeat it, we would have been more than 150 over here, but none of the mayors and councillors are here except Mike Brown because of the current meeting in Corner Brook. I'd like also to recognize Susan Sullivan. Please stand up, Susan. Susan was Amache for Grand Falls Buckens from 2007 to 2015. She has served in 2 governments as Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of Community Services, Minister of Human Resources, Labour and Employment. Thank you, Susan. We have with us Captain Hassan Malik. Captain Malik is a member of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and he is currently the Chief Engineer at the Canadian Armed Forces base in Gander. And there was somebody from the Advertiser who was here. Natasha is here. Samantha? Okay, Samantha, thank you. She's going to give us some coverage tonight. And of course, we want to thank the team who prepared the meals for us. And within, I think, the next 5 or 10 minutes, they will be serving the meal. And everybody who traveled out of town, thank you. And last on my list, but not least, are 2 people who have helped tremendously to set this all up. And without them, we won't be able to make it. And this is my 2 friends, Wendy Houlihan. Okay, thank you. And Mrs. Harris. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll call on Mr. Barker now to recognize some whom I may have missed.
I'd like to welcome everybody here. And that welcome in Mi'kmaq is Epchilasi Msetwan. And I'd like to thank President Malik and Dr. Boudin and the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for their gracious invitation to Qalipu members and their guests to attend tonight's event. Qalipu, the name of our Newfoundland landless Indian band, is also Mi'kmaq, and it means caribou, as caribou was the primary source of meat for the Mi'kmaq people until moose were brought to the island in 1908. Just this past week, Mr. Scott Sims, our MP, drumming group and staff from Qalipu office and others were at Indian Point, National Historic Site on the shores of Red Indian Lake, to unveil a plaque dedicated to the Beothics. And you know, we are in the traditional territory of the Beothic people and the Mi'kmaq people as well, as we overlapped for our time a number of centuries ago. I would like to tie that event that happened at Red Indian Lake to tonight's program. So if you look at the program down at the bottom, you'll see that there's a poppy. And actually, when we were working on the program, Dr. Boudin, because this was his idea, he had 2 poppies there. And I suggested we put the forget-me-not, because the forget-me-not is the Newfoundland symbol of remembering the war dead. And I like the combination for 2 reasons. One, you know, the poppy is black and red, the things of war that we don't like, and the poppy is the blue, you know, is the United Nations symbol for peace, and that's what we're about here tonight. We're looking for peace. This room we're actually in, you can't see his picture, but behind the Canadian flag over there, this room is dedicated to Mr. Jack Cater, a World War I vet. So back when he comes back here after World War I in 1925, Memorial College opens. 4 years after that college opens, 1929, a baby girl is born in Germany. She grew up to live through World War II, fled East Germany, ended up in the USA, and in 1968, as a mother of 3 children, she moved to St. John's with her husband, who was to be a professor at Memorial University. And she's almost immediately enthralled with the Beothics. She returns to university, researches, and writes a book on the history of the Beothic that is now considered the definitive book on the Beothics. And of course, I'm talking about Ingeborg Marshall, who received an honorary degree from this same university in 2007. So you see the full circle, hey? Fighting against Germans. A German comes here and gives us a piece of history that will last forever. So thank God that she immigrated to here, and perhaps another immigrant or a child of an immigrant will research and write the definitive book on the Mi'kmaq people of Newfoundland. All of you tonight are special guests, but I particularly want to point to our Chief Brendan Mitchell for coming over from Corner Brook. I'd like to point out our Vice Chief Joe Bazan. Joe, would you stand up there, please, so people know who you are? I'd like to also point out Councillor Frank Scared is here. Frank Glenwood Ward. I also like to point out tonight that Nellie Power, as part of the drumming group, is here. Nellie, a former chief of Speltec, and with the Federation of Newfoundland Indians. Nellie's sidekick, her cousin and my cousin, Bernie Hanlon, much respected in the Mi'kmaq community, died 3 years ago. But with her tonight, her son John is here somewhere, I think. John, you're here? No. And her sister Margaret, and her brother Jerry, and nieces and nephews. And I'd like to thank the drumming group. I'd like to thank Mr. Gerald Beaton. Gerald's probably the oldest member of the Mi'kmaq group right here. And Gerald's family is Gerald's family is tied into Wigwam Point, and we're expecting the development there in the next couple of years. I'd like to thank the drumming group and thank my sister Cavell for singing "O Canada" in Mi'kmaq. And the last of it is Dr. Booten actually came to me, I think he said is around October the 10th, the idea for tonight's event. So in less than a month, we had built this bridge building event. I called it a Booten Barker Bridge Consultants. No doubt, it was the quickest bridge ever built along the exploits. I'm not saying about any other place. In our meetings, Dr. Booten had a hard time calling me Andy, and I call him Mohammed. He had some concerns about tonight's event, that someone might be offended or take something the wrong way. Well, tonight is not about burning a bridge, it's about building a bridge. Learning about the Ahmadiyya, learning about the Qalipu, enjoying all of our company here, and leaving here on a friendship bridge. Thus, this night is one of best intentions, there's no harm intended, and is summed up in the Ahmadiyya motto, love all, hatred for none. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Let's play a very short game. Who's hungry? Put up your hand. I have some great news for you if you are, because the blessings are next. And you know what follows the blessings? We all eat. So once again, I'd like to call on the Imam Nadim Khan, please, to bring our blessings, and then we'll have our supper.
So it's the Islamic tradition that when we start our meal, we start with a prayer that is Bismillahi wa ala barakatillahi, meaning that in the name of God and all the blessings upon him. And I'm sure that there is in other religions there is also some prayers like this before you start the meal. So with this prayer we are going to start our meal today. Thank you. Amen.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's go now to the formal part of our program. I introduced him earlier. He spoke to us as well, but I forgot to mention his title. But before I do that, I mentioned Susan earlier, who's been involved for years around Central and the district as MHA and minister. But I'd also like to say a special hello to also another former politician who's been very active in Central on many occasions. He recently retired. I'd like to say hello to former Mayor of Badger, Mike Patey. Nice to see you, sir. Okay. That being said, let's go back to the program. I'm now called upon the Ward Councillor Exploits for the Qalipu First Nation, Mr. Andy Barker.
It's my privilege to introduce to you Chief Brendan Mitchell. I've only known Brendan 5 years since we've been on the council together. But I think we almost have like a spiritual connection, because his great-grandfather, Matty Mitchell, and my grandfather, Louis John, were guides in this area in the early 1900s, and grandfather traveled a lot towards the West Coast, so I would think it was almost impossible that they didn't meet at some time or another. And some of you may not know, but Brendan's great-grandfather really helped to save this town a long time ago. In the 1930s, when the mill was just breaking even or not making much profit, the mine, the ore body that his grandfather had discovered in around 1908 or so, became a full-fledged mine, and the A&D company owned 50% of the profits of that mine, so that really kept the A&D company here when the paper industry wasn't that great. So here he is now, the great-grandson, Matty Mitchell, the chief of our band, Qalipu, here with us tonight. And it's a bit ironic that the grandson of Louis John actually submitted that name Qalipu that was chosen, and that's Bill Dugan, who lives in Cornerbrook. So a long-time connection keeps going. Brendan himself was born in Cornerbrook, where he lives with his wife, Sheila Lasaga, a family name that I love to say, Lasaga. Brendan himself is a Bachelor of Science degree. He has an MBA. He spent 30 years with the paper industry, so he's a kinfolk to us. Lunch baskets are in Cornerbrook. They actually came from here, Brendan. Brendan is a champion golfer. Told me one time he even thought about turning pro. I've never played golf in my life. Brendan is also a drummer, and just not in with the drumming group here tonight. He's also a recognized fly fisherman and casting skills. And when I was looking at the Mi'kmaq online website about language guide, I looked up, a chief in the Mi'kmaq is called a Sagama. And here's the definition of a Sagama: a gentleman, a man of high rank, a chief, but my favorite, big shot. On the website, you'll see that Brendan says he plans to work with the council and the staff at Qalipu, doing the right things for Qalipu Nation, putting our people and communities first, doing so with respect, honesty, integrity, and true dedication. In the 5 years that I've known Brendan Mitchell, that is the way he has operated. And with the business of our council, as open, as transparent as possible. In my feeling, he is the best person at the helm at this time for our band. Thus, I give you Sagama Brendan Mitchell.
This past summer has been an interesting time as people in Canada celebrated Canada 150. The truth is, Indigenous people in Canada have been around a lot longer than 150 years. Many Indigenous leaders were uncertain as they should be celebrating Canada 150. For me personally, 150 years is okay to celebrate. There's nothing wrong with that. Both as Indigenous people and as Canadians, we have to be able to celebrate what we have in this country, where we've come from, and the contribution that Indigenous people have made to the development of Canada. I was so pleased to see that we have a new name on a day called Aboriginal Day, now called National Indigenous Peoples Day. We also have a Diversity Day right now in Canada. A good time to recognize the different people that are in this country that make up Canada. Language, religion, where they came from, color, all those wonderful things. So when I think about Canada 150 and from a positive aspect, I say to myself and I say to others, let's not forget the last 150 years and what happened to Indigenous people or anybody in the country. Let's work together in unity while we're alive today in this generation to pave the way for a better and more prosperous next 150 years. Thank you. So in concluding, I just want to say thank you for our members that are here tonight and Mi'kmaq people that are supporting this event. Thank you so much for the invitation, Dr. and Mr. Malik, for the invitation to be here with you and share this evening with you. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Mr. Malik and his role and responsibility across this country. He's been living in Canada for 30 years. He's a great diplomat for his people, and he's very interested in our relationship with his people because he sees our stories kind of working parallel together. So on that note, I will sit down now and say to all of you, Walayo, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
I first met Mr. Malik, I think it was 2008, I believe. And I believe it was in this building, if I'm not mistaken. So here he is, a national figure of national prominence. I thought, well, this is his one shot at coming to a small town in Newfoundland and Labrador, but he's back. Look at that, not bad. Thank you, sir, for coming back and to provide a proper introduction. I now call upon my friend, your friend, our friend, Dr. Mohammed Boudin.
Before giving you an introduction for Mr. Malik, I would like to call upon Wendy and Sylvia to come and make a presentation to Mr. Malik. And Wendy will tell you what it's all about.
Well, tonight I'm here to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Canada and Mr. Malik very much for their support of the South and Central Health Foundation through their participation in our monthly donor program for almost over 20 years. This program helps our charity continue its mission, which is to enhance the health and well-being of our communities. Every year we see many lives change for the better, all because of the generosity of supporters like you. Well, in recognition of this support, tonight I'm going to present you with a certificate of congratulations upon reaching the Distinguished Ambassador level in our charity's donor program. And Cynthia has our recognition certificate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Malik is the National President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community of Canada. He lives in Peace Village, which is near the Baitul Islam Mosque in Maple, in the city of Vaughan, Ontario, or quickly said, it's just by the Canada Wonderland. Mr. Malik has served the community in Canada in various capacities over many decades. He was elected as its national president over a decade ago. Before moving to Canada in 1987, he served as an engineer in South Asia and East Africa. Mr. Lal Khan Malik is a strong advocate of social services and was recently presented the Lifetime of Service Recognition Award by the Ontario Nonprofit Housing Association for his 20 years of service with the Nonprofit Housing Association. As a student of the Holy Quran, he is ever willing to present the peaceful message of Islam and dispel the myth about its teachings. He is a passionate proponent of interfaith dialogue and has spoken at many conferences throughout Canada. He strongly promotes the Islamic teaching that love of the country is part of his faith, and he urges Canadians to publicly show their love for Canada. As National President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Mr. Malik extensively travels across Canada. His love of Canada extends not just to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community he serves, but also to all citizens of our glorious land. He believes in and practices the motto of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, love for all, hatred for none. His last visit to FALLS-WINDSOR was in November of 2008, and I'm very pleased that he's here again with us today. Mr. Malik, please.
Thank you very much for this evening with this warm-hearted reception that you have afforded. I have been introduced. I'm a national servant of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Canada, and it is in this role that I have traveled to Newfoundland 3 times and to FALLS-WINDSOR 2nd time this evening. This morning when we reached the land of Newfoundland, Dr. Budhan called me and said, "Welcome to the Rock." And then we also experienced strong winds, and it was colder than it was in Nova Scotia. But what I remember from my last visit and what I'll remember from this visit is not the weather. It is the beauty of the people I met here and am meeting this evening. It is the warmth of the heart, which is the beauty of the people. So this is the impression I got, I have retained, and I'll take back home this time also. Thank you very much for being so warm-hearted and being so welcoming. Before I proceed, I will give you a short introduction of my organization. We are Ahmadiyya Muslims, and Ahmadiyya Muslim community was founded in 1908 by Hazrat Ahmad, who claimed to be the awaited reformer for whom the followers of all religions have been waiting. And his claim was that I have come to unite humanity on one God, one humanity basis. And he said that I have come to reconnect men and women with God. And I have come to re-emphasize the love we should have for fellow human beings. So these, he said, are the gist of the religious teachings of all the religions. And the summary of the moral teachings of all religions sums up in the slogan we have adopted, love for all and hatred for none. Hazrat Ahmad, peace be upon him, removed various misunderstandings which had developed in the word of Islam. One of these was the concept of violent jihad. Some Muslims, unfortunately, had developed the view that when people are wrong and you are right, you have the right to forcibly bring them to the right way. But that is against the Islamic teachings, that there should be no compulsion in matters of religion. And again he said that no religion has monopoly of being the only true religion. He said, on the basis of the teachings of the Quran, that God has provided for guidance of all the people. There is a verse in the Holy Quran to the effect that there is not a single people to whom a warner has not been sent. And based on this, he said that all revealed religions are true at their source, and Islam demands that not only do you have to believe in your own prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be upon him, but you have to believe in Prophet Abraham, Prophet Moses, Prophet Jesus, Prophet Zoroaster, Prophet Krishna, Prophet Buddha, and name any prophet who appeared in any part of the world, any time of the history of mankind. And we would say, peace be upon him, and we would consider him our own prophet. And then he said that it is based on this that the difference of religion should not be made the reason for hatred with one another. And he founded this concept that one of the most effective ways of bringing peace to the society is to bring together followers of all the religions, invite their scholars to come together and speak on a common popular topic, which is a current topic, and express the beauties of their respective faiths. And this interfaith dialogue, which he started at the end of the last century, has continued through our community throughout the world. In Canada, we have held more than 100 such events in which we invite our Christian brothers and sisters, our Jewish friends, our Hindu brothers and sisters, and scholars from some other faiths, and we give them a topic, and they all speak from the vantage point of their own religion. And listening to them every time, I have left with a feeling that we have so much in common. Many of the things which I did not know about the Jewish faith, I got to know through these meetings. And this is a view shared by almost all the participants who have spoken to me after such meetings. So it is this importance of bringing people together to talk, to discuss, and to listen from them what they believe, not listening from their opponents, their enemies, what they believe, or from the media, which sometimes does not report the truth. So this tradition of Hazrat Ahmad, we are continuing today, and we believe that this is a very effective way of bringing about peace in the society, because when the communities are peace with one another, then would real peace prevail in the country. I mentioned that Ahmad claimed to be the reformer of the latter days. Like it has happened at the time of all the messengers from God. He was rejected by majority of the people whom he addressed. And particularly the Muslims rejected him. They said, "You are not the true Messiah. We still await the arrival of the Mahdi and the Messiah." But this was okay. Persecution, opposition of religious communities is understood. But to persecute them and to stand on their way and to stand the way of their livelihoods, to kill them because they have different belief, this is too much. This should not happen. And unfortunately, the persecution of our community in Pakistan has entered a phase which is unique, that the government of Pakistan has become a party to the persecution of our people. The constitution of the country has been amended to say that Ahmadis are not Muslims. Not only that, if you say I'm not a Muslim, I'll live with that. But that I claim to be Muslim and it is a sin which should be punished by an imprisonment of 3 years, this is what is happening in Pakistan. I'm wearing a ring which has a part of a verse from the Holy Quran. I cannot wear this in Pakistan. I would be behind bars for 3 years for this sin. If I greet you like I did in the beginning of my talk, I would be in prison for 3 years because I have posed as a Muslim. People are surprised. They don't believe when I tell them that this is what is happening in Pakistan, because we have been unable to let people know what is happening to our community. So Chief Mitchell was asking me, why have you chosen Qalipu First Nations? Well, we are a persecuted community, and whenever we come to know of another community who is facing similar treatment at the hand of people, we feel a natural affinity for them. So in addition to the other reasons that we have to interconnect with every other community to build bridges, we feel special feelings for the indigenous people of Canada. The prime objectives of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are that we should have peace with God, and the recitation of the first chapter of the Holy Quran, which was made before you, presented God as Lord of all the worlds. It did not present God as Lord of the Muslims, Lord of the Christians or Jews or any particular people, Lord of all the worlds. God has created all of us. He has created us all equals. He loves us all equally. And we would not be able to please God unless we love each one of us equally. To differentiate people on the basis of race, on the basis of color, on the basis of their ethnic backgrounds is against the teachings of the Lord of all the worlds. If the aim of my life is to please God, I cannot achieve this aim unless I love each one of all members of the human race. And that is why we have adopted this slogan of love for all and hatred for none. And I repeat, why love all? Because God loves them all. And the highest achievement of a human being is that when he ends his or her life and stands before God, he or she should be able to please God. And this would not happen unless he or she has loved all the creation of God equally. The second objective of our community is that we should have peace at humanity level. There is an obvious lack of peace in the world. One reason is lack of information of one community about the other. We know the other communities through the print media or the electronic media, but that is not always the right information. We believe that the communities have to get together to know one another. And based on this, as I said earlier, our community has promoted this idea of interfaith dialogue between the communities, and this has proven beneficial, and wherever we have offered this opportunity, we have never faced refusal. So I encourage our community in Newfoundland also to arrange more such events where we bring together people of various backgrounds, and they discover what binds them rather than what divides them. Peace and humanity also includes service of humanity. For this purpose, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has established a charity wing called Humanity First. And in times of disasters, this organization provides disaster relief to the places like Haiti, Philippines, when natural disasters struck these places. And on some of the occasions, Humanity First was the first organization to send their volunteers, their doctors, to relieve the pain of the people suffering there. Peacetime services include Feed the Hungry program, Feed the Homeless program, Water for Life program, Knowledge for Life program, and Skills for Life program, and gift of sight in some communities where there is a large number of cases of blindness. And then establishment of schools, clinics, where the governments have not been able to establish these services. And then building of bridges. We are in the business of building of bridges. The buildings not made of steel and concrete, the buildings made of love. And this is the building of bridges that has taken me to various parts of Canada, to which Chief Mitchell alluded earlier. And this is what brings me here tonight. I have always discovered that the person sitting next to me is a better person after speaking to him or her than I had thought before. Every time I have spoken to a person and opened my heart to him or her, I have experienced that there is much more to know from the people sitting or living next to us than we normally do. Last year was a special year for our community. We completed 50 years of our establishment in Canada. We had many events highlighting these 50 years. And the highest of these was that our spiritual leader, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the fifth successor to Hazrat Ahmad, he visited Canada for about 7 weeks. And his visit extended to various parts of Canada, including Calgary, where he received a delegation of the indigenous people of Canada. About 15 of them, some of them were chiefs, some elders. And they mentioned some of the problems they were facing, His Holiness. His Holiness replied that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is not a religious organization that it can attend to some religious problem. We are a religious community, and we would stand with you wherever we find that justice demands that we should stand with you. And after His Holiness returned to London, UK, where he normally lives, he sent us instructions that our community, wherever we have our branches, we should start developing special relationships and have a special program of outreach to the indigenous people of Canada. They have been wronged, and we should stand with them. First of all, we should find out about them. We have very little knowledge of them. So this evening I have found some of the things about the Qalipu First Nations I didn't know before. So I welcome this opportunity. I thank you, Chief Mitchells, and I thank you, every one of you, because your being here supports the idea of getting together of the various communities. This is in which the greatness of Canadian nation lies. This is what would make Canada really the greatest nation of the world. Some of the things Canada is doing, it is envy of the people of the world. But we have to do more. We have to do more with our own people. And the direction of the current government has taken is good, but we should do it with full sincerity. And what would result as a result of this process would be a stronger Canada, a happier Canada, a more prosperous Canada. Because a country is prosperous only when all the people living in that country are happy and prosperous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just from personal experience, in 2010, I went to work that morning in Ottawa faced with a horrific news event that showed up on my desk, and I got a call shortly thereafter from Dr. Boudin that many, I think it was 80 Ahmadis? 80 Ahmadis were signaled out in Pakistan and killed for their religion. Several days later, we unanimously passed a motion in the House of Commons, unanimously condemning the actions taken in Pakistan as violence came to the Ahmadiyyan community in the most vicious way imaginable. And here we are, 7 years later, the very same group finds itself on the other side of the world saying very simply, love for all, hatred for none. Thank you, Mr. Malik. That was an amazing speech. Thank you very much. Now, Brendan, Chief Shepherd, I believe you have, Chief Mitchell, sorry, my apologies. I believe you have, I think he still likes me, doesn't he? I believe you have a gift for Mr. Malik. That's right, but don't worry about it. People still call me Rex Barnes. It's all right.
I just want to thank Scott for this evening. He did a great job as MC, and it's so pleasing to have so many people here and so many community leaders sharing in this beautiful event this evening. And it's wonderful. And just for the record, Scott, I still have people introduce me sometimes as Brendan Shepherd. The truth of it is, we're actually named after the same man, a gentleman named Brendan Webb, who was my father's first cousin. I had a staff person. I've known him now for 3 years in the office, and he was a director. And we had someone from INAC, and he says, I'd like to meet Brendan Shepherd. And I said, it's Mitchell, I'm sorry. And I know the guy, I've known this guy like for about 20 years. Anyway, it happens. It just falls out sometimes. So anyway, what I'd like to do right now, I'd like to call on Dr. Boudin and Mr. Malik. We have a small token of our appreciation from Qalipu First Nation and from all of us, including the Exploits Ladies Drumming Group. Just a small token of this thank you for the opportunity tonight to be here with you and sharing this wonderful evening with your community and from people from this area of Grand Falls, Windsor, and Exploits. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Boudin. Thank you, sir. Just a little few things come up. There we go. History.
It was just brought to my attention. I'd like to pass on my condolences. I mentioned the massacre earlier took place in Pakistan. I did not realize that Imam's brother was one of those people. My sympathies, sir, to you. And thank you for coming here to tell us about love for all and hatred for none. Thank you so much. Now, did you notice something earlier? I noticed something very special. I have never seen anyone talk about the nasty Newfoundland weather in such a pleasant way. You talk, oh, there were harsh winds. Listen, I used to give it to weather. It was never good as that. Never. That was amazing, wasn't it? That was really good. You have, I tell you, you could be a fantastic weatherman. So that brings us now to our Mi'kmaq prayer song. Now, we're going to do a prayer song. I call on the drummers once again. However, there's a switch this time. You can take pictures or you can record it. As a matter of fact, I believe Chief Mitchell is going to do just that, aren't you? You want to get a picture? You said you want to get some great pictures?
If that's okay with the group, I'd like to get a picture of the group on this song. Would that be okay with everyone?
Oh, I should have asked for permission is what you're saying. Would you like to get it? Too late to get a picture taken. That's it. All right, we got it. We're good. So this is for the Mi'kmaq prayer song.
This evening for me was a very inspirational evening. It was one of many emotions and feelings, actually. I'm neither Qalipu nor Muslim, but the opportunity to come here this evening and to hear from both leaders and to experience what everybody in the room felt in the sense of the warmth, the engagement, the awareness, and so on was truly a remarkable experience. I find that in our everyday lives today, we often don't take the time to reflect or to be aware of each other and to understand that together, as we journey our way through this life, is truly the only way that we will make progress. So this whole evening was certainly a tremendous credit to those who organized, a credit to those who spoke to us tonight, and to those who came. I think we will be forever enriched as a result of being together this evening. Thank you.
What a beautiful message tonight Mr. Malik brought to the community of Grand Falls-Windsor. A simple message, love for all, hatred for none. It's a message that really he inspires us to take into the world. It's a message to bring forward and inspire everybody, especially in a time of turmoil. So we thank him immensely for reaching out to our community, our province, our country, and really the world community to bring this simple message, love for all, hatred for none. Good night.
Well, hi and good evening, everyone. I'm Brendan Mitchell, Chief of Qalipu First Nation. We're a First Nation organization in Newfoundland. We're a fairly large First Nation group here, and we're here tonight sharing an evening of friendship, kinship, collaboration, and unity with the Ahmadiyya Muslim people. This has been a great evening for us all. When I walked into the room and I saw the flag or the banner that said love for all, hatred for none, it absolutely reminded me of our own sacred teachings of humility, honesty, respect, truth, courage, wisdom, and love for all people and love for one another. And this is what we need more of in this world. We see so many things today in our country and across the world, trouble in other places, leaders that aren't really leading in the way they should be. We have to be thankful for what we have in Canada. And we're also very thankful for relationships that we build with people like us that share a common background, a common way to have come up through the years, the struggles, the joys. And this is what we felt tonight. And we had a great evening with Dr. Malik and Dr. Boudin. And we're proud to be here as Mi'kmaq people and proud to be part of meeting this community for the first time and sharing an evening of food, an evening of song, an evening of goodwill. So all in all, it's been a great day. I'm looking forward to the rest of this evening and of course looking forward to an ongoing relationship with this community here in this area of Newfoundland. So again, thank you very much. It was a great night. M'Sinogama.